great mothers, connect with your children. And to connect means to deliberately, consciously create the time. You have time for what you value. Today is a Friday. You had a lot of choices to make. You chose to be here. You put your phone on silent mode. Some of you perhaps have even switched off your gadgets because you are keen with the words of life that are coming from my lips. After this meeting, people will be looking for you. There's no doubt you're going to return some calls. But I also know there are some calls you'll never remember to return. And the difference is simple. You will call back who you value in the priority of how you value them. You have time for what you value. You have time for who you value. Now, let me tell you the typical behavior from women and men in Kenya. We go home, and the average woman doesn't know what she's looking for on TV. She picks the remote, points on the TV and says, I wonder what is coming next. She changes from KTN to Citizen, to NTV, to K24, looking for what she doesn't know. You see, women, even when they go to the supermarket, they don't know what they're looking for. They go to find out when they reach there. They do the same with the TV. Excuse me, ladies, if you don't know what you're looking for, switch it off. That's where your time goes. Then the average man picks the TV remote with a very clear mind. He wants to watch IEBC Going Home. He's very clear. So he picks the remote. Let me use this book to point. He points at the TV. He forgets everything else. His mouth is wide open. Flies can get in there. IBC is Going Home. Like a Zubi. He watches 7 o'clock news. He watches 9 o'clock news. He watches 11 o'clock news as though there's an exam tomorrow based on news. And then he wonders where the time goes. You see, you can be having children who are strangers to you. Occasionally I tell parents, hey, go to the bedroom of your teenage son or your teenage daughter and check their wall lyrics. Check their photo albums on phone or wherever else. I can't do that. Why not? That's interfering with their privacy. Excuse me, at what point did you become a stranger to your son or daughter? I'm going to answer your question. When this girl was 4 or 5 years of age, you sent her to the house girl to do homework with the house girl. You even are guilty of signing the diary the whole week to avoid disturbance. When she turns 13, you realize this is the time to talk to her about boys. She blocks. Mama, you're interfering with my privacy. Had you been with her all along, she wouldn't see you as a stranger. Occasionally, some parents during Q&A time, they ask me, Daktari, how can we know a child who is in drug abuse? Then I ask them a rhetoric question. How in the name of common sense would you know if you didn't have ample time with them? Because sometimes children who are outgoing become suddenly withdrawn. Sometimes they overeat or undereat. Underdress when it's very cold, chilling cold, or overdress when there's scorching heat. How do you draw a line between normal teenage behavior from anomalous teenage behavior unless you have quality time with them? What I do in my house is simple. From Monday, my children are in primary school. My daughter is in class 7. My son is in class 3. Monday through Thursday, they don't watch TV at all, and they have grown like that, so they have not struggled about it. It's not been coerced. They have the permission to watch anything they want on Friday. They have the choice to do it. And the reason I choose to do that, there is Wi-Fi 24 hours in my house, is because even if I don't allow them to do that, they can go to the internet in the neighbor's house. So we teach them how to be responsible with the internet, and they are way ahead of me with social media. So they can do that on Friday evening. Saturday during the day, they have to go out and play with the other children in the estate for simple reason. The kids on the TV don't fight with my children. The ones in the estate have real issues. And they need to deal with real issues. On Sunday, I don't take any appointment unless I will go with my family. But I drove them to school every morning. The chances are very high. If you check my programs, I might be busier than the average person listening to me here. And I drop them every day. They are not a project to me. They are the core business. Let me tell you this. By the time he died, President Nelson Mandela was the leading icon in the world, the leading bird, if you like. I have great honor and respect for this man who spent at least 27 years behind the bars, we are told much of it, at Robben Island, to rescue a great nation from the forces of apartheid. And by extension, freedom for the entire humanity. It's my prayer and hope none of you will misquote me. I have honor for that great man. But often in my private thoughts, during my reflective moments, I have wondered, is it possible? Is it possible? Having lost 3 of his own children to HIV/AIDS, he may have questioned his priorities. He may have thought, if I needed to save a great nation from apartheid, just maybe, I didn't need to start a family just to lose it. I have no clue. I leave you to be the judge. The only true Nobel laureate from the great nation of Kenya, Professor Wangari Maathai, was quoted by the media on her deathbed. The only thing I regret is that I never spent enough time with my own family. If I may paraphrase the good professor who she's speaking to us from her deathbed, I have learned a little bit too late that parental responsibilities are not delegatable. The growth of children is irreversible. You can't pick it up from where you left after you chase the fame and the fortune, after you put up the apartments and then pick it up from where you left. Their growth has no reverse gear. I suggest tonight, if you invest in your children, you don't have to invest for your children. Legacy is not what you leave behind. Legacy is who you leave behind. You can come up with a very nice legal contractual agreement about your will, but they will destroy it as soon as you are gone. The only sure legacy that no one can tear is what you invest in them, not for them. A friend of mine some time ago was carjacked and taken to Gong Hills. The 3 abductors were clear: because you have refused to give us the cash, we are going to finish you right now. But we are going to be gracious with you. We're going to give you our phone. Make your last call. Make your last call. Make your last call. Who do you think he called? Talk to me. Who do you think he called? The wife. This side. What do you think was the message? Ile moyo ya mjengo iko wapi? What do you think was the message? Take care of my children. If you have been pretending not to know the priorities in life, put yourself in that context and begin your work-life balance. The average parent who has spoken to me over my life, they say, I work very hard because of my children. Then why lose them to crime? Why lose them to HIV? Why lose them to a police bullet in the name of working for them? Sometimes I have heard fathers saying, I have paid the fees. I have bought the books. What else do they need from me? Excuse me, who made you AMREF and Red Cross? Why reduce yourself from a father to a guardian? The father figure is the highest honor God can ever give you. Don't bring it down to a sponsor. And don't forget every other person is paying school fees like you. It is the indivisible minimum. You have time for who you value. you have time for what you value. If you are a workaholic, you are lazy. Being hardworking means being able to balance all important aspects of your life. Connect with your children. For children, time equals love. Love equals time. Children need your presence, not your presence. Principle number 5. Learn how to communicate. Learn how to communicate. I heard of a story of a girl who wanted to get married, but the mother said, you know very well, as Catholics, don't get married to Baptists, cancel the engagement. And the girl deteriorated from stress almost to depression. Fortunately, the mother used to be a gifted saleswoman. And she persuaded the daughter, I'm going to persuade your boyfriend to become a good Catholic. Then the two of you can go ahead with the engagement. On her very first date with the son-in-law-to-be, she closed the sale. In other words, the young man decided to become a good Catholic. In a span of about 6 weeks, the girl goes back home, weeping. And the mother asks her, what's the problem, daughter? I thought I persuaded your boyfriend to become a good Catholic so that the two of you can go ahead with the engagement. And the girl said, that's the problem, Mama. You oversold the idea. The young man now is becoming a priest. I think that's a good communicator. You agree? But there are some people who are bad communicators. You know, I grew up in church. Whenever I used to leave Sunday school, I would hear my parents saying, we were blessed. Tumebarikiwa. Okay, what was the pastor speaking about? Wacha hiyo maneno. Sisi tumebarikiwa. Okay, tell me what the pastor said. No, we were blessed. I read of a story of a lady who was divorcing the husband. She went to her attorney, and the attorney, obviously a man, told her, stop problem, be specific, like how, she asked. Okay, let's get to some specifics. Do you have any grounds? Oh yeah, we have about 10 acres north of town. No, I'm not asking those kind of grounds. I'm asking, do you and your husband have any garage? Oh, you're asking whether we have a garage. No, but a tiny carport. But it's enough for our small car. I'm not asking about a garage. I'm asking, does this man beat you up? Beat me up? Never. I'm up before him just about any morning. Okay, woman, what's wrong with your husband? She said, the guy simply can't communicate. Who do you think was the problem? I read a story of an elderly woman who was in a retirement home. On the very first night, she sat directly opposite a very handsome guy in her opinion. She stared at him until he got uncomfortable and confronted her. And he asked her, I have the feeling you are staring at me. I am, she exclaimed. Why are you doing that? I'm amazed. Amazed at what? Gorgeous me. You look exactly like my third husband. The color of your eyes, your mannerisms, your stature, everything fits the description of my third husband. All right, woman, how many times have you been married? Twice. That's a good hint for single ladies. I'm going to give you 3 simple rules about communication. Are you ready? Rule number 1. Say it as though you're saying it for the first time. Say it as though you're saying it for the first time. Normally, when I'm doing my messages, I don't digress. But with your permission, I want to digress for 2 minutes. I want to speak to men for just 2 minutes. Just 2 minutes. Is that okay? Just for 2 minutes. How many men came in this place with your spouses? You came here with your wife. How many? Let me see. You came with your wife? Where is she? Here. All right, look at my eyes and don't cheat. Did he tell you today, I love you? This morning? No, thank you for being honest. Another one? Let me try. Where? Who came with the wife? Oh, yes, I know them. I know this couple. Now, look at me, Ruth. I know you. And I know you talk the truth. Did he tell you today, I love you? No. You know, I'm asking about today because men don't forget to say, love you at night. The question is during the day. Men, I have a message for you. You've got to tell your wife, I love you, like you're saying it for the first time. Why? 3 simple reasons. Reason number 1, The way to a woman is through the ears. If you stop speaking to her and another man begins talking to her, she begins to believe the man who is saying it. It's cheaper to tell her than to hire an investigator. Does that make sense? Reason number 2. You've got to tell her because that's her definition of love. What's your definition as a man? Si anaona, nyumba nimejenga, watoto nimeelimisha. That's your definition. What is her definition? She wants to hear it. Your thoughts don't bless her. Every woman wants to hear the word I love you, whether she's single or widowed or elderly. There is something in every woman that longs for appreciation. You've got to love her according to her definition of love. And for that reason, be like your Heavenly Father. He tells us over and over again, I love you. One day, I was training for the Ministry of Water. And I was teaching district water officers the whole country. So I told the men, tell your wife, I love you. And one of them took me literally. He picked up his phone, and he called me, and he decided to call the wife on speakerphone. And he told the wife, hi, sweetie, I love you, I miss you. Then she screamed on the other side of the phone, what's wrong with you? What has happened? You know, she had never had it for 23 years. So, Captain, if you have not seen it for 23 years, answer mos, pole. If you start suddenly, she wonders what you're hiding and what you're up to. Say it as though you're saying it for the first time. Let's go back to children. Si nilikwambia, unataka nikwambie mara ngapi? No. Say it as though you are saying it for the first time. Repeat the message over and over and over again. It begins to stick. The second rule about communication. Every time you're speaking to children, lower your tone for simple reasons. Whenever you raise your tone, you are mad, and madmen are not communicators. I'm in the world of imagination. I'm imagining there's someone in our midst with a daughter called Kerubo. She lives in a 3-bedroom house, maisonette. All the bedrooms are upstairs. The kitchen and the sitting room are downstairs. She's in the kitchen fixing some dinner. She remembers something and begins to scream, Kerubo, Biore. Please take a walk. It will even cut down your fat level. Go where Kerubo is and speak the message. Don't shout. They get confused. The third rule about communication, address the situation. Don't make issues personal. Address the situation. Don't make issues personal. Maureen, come. I'm going to use you as an example. Maureen has a house girl. What's the name of your house girl? Mary. Maureen tonight goes home and realizes that Mary has over-roasted fish. She gets so upset, looks at Mary in the eyes and tells Mary, Tigiza, tena, iko network, iko sawasawa. There is nothing wrong with Mary's head. There is something wrong with the fish. Address the fish problem, not the head problem. If she was able to reason like you, she should be here seated. So let's deal with the fish problem, not the head problem. Why? Labeling is disabling. Don't label the child, label the behavior. Thank you. Label the behavior, don't label the child. And this takes me to principle number 6. Learn to listen. Principle number 6. Learn to listen. I read of a story of a 24-year young man who was with his 2 parents in a train. But for all logical purposes, he was behaving like a 6-year-old. For example, as the train was moving, he would shout and tell the father, Dad, hey, look at the trees moving at the same speed with the train in the opposite direction. In just about a moment, he screams again, hey, Dad, hey, look at the clouds moving at the same speed with us in the reverse direction. An adjacent passenger couldn't stomach it anymore. He decided to confront the man and said, Sir, I've got the phone number of a good psychiatrist who may recommend to your son so that he behaves up to his age. The father looked at the accusing passage and told him, thank you for your counseling words, but you're wrong. My son was born blind. For the first time, he saw today and is unable to contain his thrill. Everyone has a story. Learn to listen. I give you 3 simple rules about listening. Are you ready? Rule number 1. Why listen? Why listen? Number 1, when you listen, you learn. When you listen, you learn. Have you ever thought of this? Everything you say, you already know. You begin to learn when you listen. Right now, what I'm speaking to you, there is not a single statement I am making accidentally. I've thought through this message over and over again, and everything I'm uttering, I have deemed it necessary for your consumption. I'll begin to learn when I sit down and listen to your stories. That's what enriches my messages. Everything you say, you already know. You begin to learn when you keep quiet, like you're doing right now, and you listen. Why listen? Number 2. When you listen, you hear what isn't being said. When you listen, you hear what is not being said. We are living in an interesting age where the kids are way ahead of us matters technology. There's an assumption parents are making that the kids know everything. You'll be shocked they may be ahead of you in technology, but they are way behind you in life's chaos. When you listen to them, you know what they know, and then you identify what they do not know. You hear what is not being said. In communication, we call it non-verbal cues. You pick them up. Why listen? Number 3. When you listen, you send a strong message. I care. I care. Put it otherwise. People don't care how much you know until they care how much you care. Even when a child is coming for an advice from the parent, the number 1 thing they are looking for is not your wise word of counsel, but they are looking for a place to vent, to release their pressures. Read of a story of a boy who was in a court being accused of robbery with violence. He was the son of a famous judge in London. He had since passed on. The judge in this particular case, trying to probe the conscience of the young man, asked him, we remember your father as a great judge. What do you remember about your father? The boy said, I remember very well one day I went to my dad looking for someone to listen to me. He screamed in my ears, run along, boy, I'm gonna finish writing this book. In another instance, I left my bicycle, went to my father, and then he screamed again, run along, boy, run, keep yourself busy, pick up the ball, pick up the bicycle, do anything, but I'm gonna finish writing the judgment. Your Honor, you remember him as a great judge. I remember him as a lost friend. I remember him as a lost father. I remember him as the father who never was. And then the judge said, alas, he finished writing the book, but lost his son. Learn to listen.